I am content creator Kimberly Lane Roberts. I empower women entrepreneurs by sharing wealth solutions on my show, Wealth and Women with Kimberly. Hello, and welcome to Wealth and Women with Kimberly. I'm Kimberly Lane Roberts, your host and your content creator. And today we have the first of two shows around women's health and specifically holistically looking at women's health. And today we have a guest. Her name is Dr. Elizabeth Davidson. And before we introduce her, I want to give a little bit of insight about how you can work with me. Just from a little bit of perspective, if you are a woman entrepreneur, you are the average of the top 5 people you spend the most time with. So if you're looking to up your game, I have an advice for you. 2 ways you can do that. 1, you can find an executive coach, or 2, you can join a peer advisory group where you have like-minded women who are driven like yourself and are the same caliber and or who are already achieving their dreams like you want to. If you are in the Bay Area, would welcome the opportunity for you to interview to see if you're a good fit for my Bay Area peer advisory group. And 2, no matter where you sit, I actually have a couple spots open for executive coaching over Zoom. If anybody is interested, you can find all that at Performance Leadership International. Again, Performance Leadership at International, and you can fill out the contact form there. Today's show is Your Health is Your Wealth. And again, with Dr. Elizabeth Davidson. So stick around because we're going to talk about how generational history affects your health. What steps can you take to heal your generational history and improve your health? And 3, since she also has this wonderful magic of being clairvoyant, I want to talk about how that works and if you possibly have that power as well. So with no further ado, let's bring up Dr. Elizabeth from the green room. Dr. Elizabeth. Do you want me to call you Dr. Elizabeth or Dr. Davidson? What do you prefer?
Elizabeth, thanks.
Excellent. Wonderful. So let me tell a little bit about you to the audience. You're a holistic doctor, a functional bloodwork specialist, clairvoyant, and a plant medicine expert. And in addition to that, you're also an entrepreneur, an author, a skier, and a single mom. Now, as far as your practice is concerned, you really help people put the puzzle together, right? Because our health sometimes, especially as women, it can be very complex and we might have some things missing. So you really combine science and intuition to help them figure out what's the whole picture and what's that puzzle piece that's missing, right?
You've got it.
And then I believe that I know just, I do a lot of energy work myself. I'm a Reiki master and just body code and motion code. There's just so many pieces that we don't even know about from and always address from a holistic perspective. So I'm really so glad that you're on the show today. So I always ask my guests, what does wealth mean to you?
Oh, wealth means having a really full life, like full, not as in I'm so busy all the time, but full as in having all the things I love in my life, the things I love to do, how I love to spend my time, the people I want to be with, that kind of thing. Wealth, certainly a part of it is having all the money I want to do all the things I love, but having the opportunity to do all those things that I love, um, and to have the time and the freedom to enjoy it all. That's really what wealth is.
No, I agree. And I suspect that, and if we both had more time to talk about our journeys to where we are today, I will say for myself, I have not always been wealthy as far as abundance and joy and really being happy and then the freedom and the financial freedom and just that internal joy that I think is so part of wealth. So based on your comment, you feel that having a community has really been instrumental in your healing and specifically your generational history and mindset. Can you help the audience understand what you mean by generational history and why is that so important to address it and heal it?
Sure. We all are a product of the generations before us, and not just in a physical or genetic way, but also in an energetic way, which maybe you have experience with your work. And so one of the key things I've done for myself in order to grow as a person and a business person and a parent and all of those things, is worked with a mindset coach who helps me heal all that energetic generational history. And you've probably noticed that you've had like some repeating patterns in your life at some point that you can't seem to shift just by changing how you do things or what you're doing. Those are likely due to generational patterns that are still affecting you. And, we don't have to be a product of everyone who came before us and all the things that have happened. We can shift that. And I feel like there's more and more awareness around that these days, and that especially like our generation is the generation of shifters and healers of all that
Mm.
generational history, um, so that the following generations can have it a whole lot easier. um, so breaking all those not great things about generational history, healing it, not breaking it, but healing it, um, has really helped me shift my life in a better direction. And then watching my daughter have so much more, like, just zest for life than I ever did, especially at her age.
So you're saying generationally you're healing it not just for you and the generational history that has affected you, but also for the collective
Mm.
generation. Is that so? So how do we identify what generate so would I be working on the same generational history as you if I was healing my generational history? Because from similar generations, is that what you're talking about, or your generations from your ancestors specifically?
There's probably a bit of crossover. I don't believe there's a lot of separation between people at any point. But yeah, I'm thinking more like your generational line, but you're also healing it not just for you, but for all your generations before and after, which is pretty cool. So,
Yeah, I think that's very cool, it's kind of like if somebody comes from an abusive family or someone comes from an addictive family or someone comes from whatever, it's kind of like our generation or this generation, or in your case, your generation, we're now making the buck stop here, right?
yeah.
And so your daughter, it will no longer experience that generational pattern of whatever it was, right? So I like
Mhm.
that. I always like to highlight a transformational insight there. So thank you for sharing that. Um, Very cool. What do you have any guidance for people who are looking to maybe branch into that may not, this might be new to them, but what would be a good first step for them as far as getting some insight or moving in that direction for generational insight?
I mean, I think with any type of healing, a huge first step is just to recognize all the healing power that you have in yourself. And with our society and our medical system, we kind of just put that away from us. Like, we don't have any power over our own health and our own wealth. It's all happening to us. And shifting that perspective can be really huge. And I like to tell people, because I work with a lot of people who have like autoimmune disorders and
Mm,
chronic illnesses and stuff like that. And they're told that they're never going to be able to heal, and I'm like, "But didn't you have a baby? Like, you created a whole person. I think you can heal your rheumatoid arthritis or whatever it might be," you know? Um, and even if you didn't have a baby, your body is doing all kinds of cool stuff all the time. So recognizing the amazingness that is you, I think that's a big first step. And to do that, I always encourage people to schedule in some time every day, even if it's just 5 minutes. Schedule in 5 minutes a day to start. That's just for you. And during that time, no interruptions, no phone, no nothing. You just get to focus on all the great things about yourself. And you could even like write down one of those things every day. And
mm,
then you wind up with a list, like you reread that list after a week, and then reread it after a month, and then after a year, and just look at all the amazing things that your body is doing for you, or you are doing for the community, or the things that you've healed. There's so many things that we're doing all the time that we don't even think about, and like recognizing yourself for all the greatness you bring is a really
yeah,
important first step.
yeah, I agree with that. We always tend to always looking forward about what's the next thing we need to accomplish to validate ourselves or to say we did
Mhm.
something worthy or whatever, versus really honoring what we've already accomplished and where we've been. I wanted to share with the audience that my book is Connections Change Everything, but I brought that up because I wrote in some research there that because you brought up how community helped you find the healing in your generational history was the community. And in part of my book, I talk about that in some circles, they're talking about in treating addiction or depression or anxiety, that connection and community is the antidote to despair, anxiety, addiction. Why? Because usually we get that anxiety or despair or depression because we don't feel like we belong for whatever reason. All our character building exercises, our childhoods, and protecting ourselves and things of that sort. That really, by putting people, giving them an opportunity to be communal with similar people with similar experiences and feel like they belong to something, actually has been a really powerful antidote to healing in whatever form that is. And it seems like you
Sure.
experienced that in your community, with the generational history. So again, that's Connections Change Everything on Amazon and also on Audible. But so how did that community help you heal? Was there a specific person? Was it just attending group meetings, peer groups? How'd that work?
Yeah, I've worked a lot with this woman. She's named Jen Polson. She's a mindset coach, and she's become like also a dear friend, and like we collaborate with a lot of things. But she um, has a whole program that she created to help people heal all that energetic generational history. She does individual coaching too. Um, but so she really helped me connect like those things that kept repeating in my life that I didn't want and that I was doing everything I could think of to change. She helped me connect that with, oh, this isn't your fault. This is
Hmm.
like from this is generational energy from way long ago. You don't need this anymore. We can break this cycle now. And so that has been amazingly helpful. Um, and then also going through the clairvoyant training was a whole other piece of that. So we can talk more about that as
Yeah, that's perfect lead in, like on cue
well.
there, Elizabeth. Your note to your younger self is to ask lots of questions and to trust yourself. And so I think part of growing into having clairvoyance or even being Reiki master or a body cold heat or energy healing, you have to be able to trust yourself and to lean into that. And so I'm wondering, when did you realize you had this gift to trust yourself enough to be able to practice it and to use that gift?
Well, it's it's been like my whole life of kind of retraining that. I grew up with lots of some family trauma and lots of chronic illness myself, and I was taught to trust doctors and not trust myself. But I recognized really young that every time I got a treatment from an MD, I got sicker
Mm.
and I felt worse. And so I started questioning that really young. And that's one of the big things that I get from my clients is that they're just told that something's wrong with them. And they don't necessarily know to ask questions because they're being told by the expert. And so it's one of those things that I really want people to ask questions about and to trust themselves because I've also had so many people, myself included, who went to the MD with this whole list of symptoms and then they were just told that they had anxiety or
Mm.
fibromyalgia and here's a medication for that. And like just got disregarded from all the things that they have, or even told that, oh, that's all in your head, that's all your imagination. And so being taught to not trust ourselves in so many instances, I feel like hugely with chronic illness and autoimmune disorders, it's so degrades your health over time. And so that's one thing with the clairvoyant training. I mean, the biggest part of it, it's all about honing your intuition. So
Right.
intuition and clairvoyance are pretty much the same thing. Clairvoyant just means clear seeing. And people will say that they're not intuitive, but we are all intuitive. I mean, have you ever had a gut feeling?
Oh, yeah, all the
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, all the time. And have you ever had the experience of having a gut feeling and then not trusting it and going in a different direction?
Yeah, I mean, growing up, I never just for similar abuse reasons and things like that, so I never learned to trust myself because you're always
Yeah.
told you're not valuable, right? Not worthy, and so that your opinion doesn't matter, and so, you never that was the hardest thing was to start to learn to trust myself, and so, in but it's progression, it took a while, and so I do
Mhm.
trust my intuition, and now I realize I've got really a high level of energetic connection to people and can read their minds or know what they're feeling even before they do, and even anticipate or manifest things, or I can tell when I knew when my father was gonna die and, just
Mhm.
things like that. I just have known that. One thing I wanted to point out, because I think it's a really another transformational insight that you shared. I used to work in the healthcare field, selling medical devices, working with pharma, working with doctors. And so I I'll never forget one doctor told me that, "Kimberly, I have to see 30% more patients every year in order to make the same income I did last year." So click,
Mhm.
they're running a business, right?
Yeah.
And so, yes, doctors do have purposes, they do have value, but my point is trust your gut, women. You know your body the best. Listen to your body. Your body knows exactly what you need, and so don't let somebody else tell you you need this and you don't have a valid symptom or whatever. And that's why I think what the work you're doing, Elizabeth, is really powerful. Because it allows women to truly express what's going on and
Mhm.
say to somebody, no, that's not right. This there still feels like something, and I feel it here or whatnot, right? So,
Yeah.
um, very
Yeah, and
important
if
insight.
if you're told something about yourself and you immediately like, "Mm, that doesn't feel right," even if you don't say it, if you just have that feeling, trust that feeling and don't do what you're told to do in that instance.
Exactly. Trust your gut.
Um, and also just remember too, if you are seeing an MD, you live in your body 24/7. You know it better than anyone. And you're most MDs, they see you for like 15 minutes a year.
They're checking a list, right? Trying to narrow it
Yeah.
down, and you know yourself.
So,
So,
you know
um,
yourself better.
exactly. Well, we are running out of time. You've been a wonderful guest.
Already.
Is there any last minute that thought or insight or way for people to get a hold of you? We'll also have it on the show notes. But anything you'd like to share with the audience?
I actually on my website in my blog, there's a free intuitive training. It's just a 1-minute video where you can learn one tool to start to hone your intuition, and that's a great thing to go check out. So, Dr. Elizabeth Davidson, and go to the blog page, and it's right there.
Perfect. We'll put that in the show notes as well. I'm going to drop you down for now, and I'll come back and visit for just enjoy yourself, and we'll close out the show.
Okay.
Thanks so much for having me here.
Thank you.
All right. As always, I always like to end the show with this intention that wealth comes from how you feel in your heart, the love that you share, and the intentions you set. So, bye for now. Please join us next week at same time, same place for Wealth and Women with Kimberly. We will have our second show regarding holistic healing. And thanks for joining us today. You can learn more about my services and products at performanceleadershipinternational.com. Make sure to join me every week on the SWE Media Network YouTube channel and wherever you listen to podcasts.